How are you, mate?
Hello, Andrew. I'm doing very well. I was going to say good morning, but it could be good afternoon.
Could be any time.
It could be any
very,
time.
very
magic of television.
Look, let's just get straight into a couple of things
absolutely.
today, because I think Elon Musk has given us a bit of an example. The Musks are not Musk.
I knew it was going to pop up, Andrew. Your greatest pun.
But what we do know in America, at-will employment means that you have these very hierarchical methods of employment where people just feel they can chuck people out. And I think your comment, just as we're walking in, doesn't work anywhere else in the world, and that's what Twitter's finding.
Yeah, that's right, Andrew.
But the really big issue here is when a business is built entirely around the talent, why would you treat talent badly?
Oh, it's just crazy. I've never seen anything so self-destructive. I mean, it's almost as if he assumed that the platform operated independently of any people.
Look, I think there's an element of truth in that. But what we will see is the degradation of the site, because the skills that hold it together and give it integrity will fail. But it's a great story for us all. Because the true capital in business, the capital that makes businesses innovate, change, meet disruption, are people. And the hardest, the things that's most scarce at the moment, is not boxes from China anymore.
No.
It's actual talent.
It's actual talent.
And talent procure you. You don't procure talent.
Yeah, exactly.
So I thought the Musk story was a really interesting story about people just getting it wrong.
Yeah, and failing to treat your best people in the best possible way as well. It's a fascinating people management story.
Yeah, anyway, a story that we just both were sort of fascinated by.
Yeah.
Let's jump onto the Pocock enigma.
Yeah. Elbows, Pocock enigma.
Elbows, Pocock, that's right.
Andrew, yeah.
Secure jobs and better pay is stuck in the Senate.
It is.
I think you told me the inquiry landed yesterday.
Yep. The Senate report did come out. Nothing sort of unexpected in that. Coalition senators dissenting, Labor and the Greens making comments about, agreeing to make a smaller business definition for 20 employees, and largely picking up on what Pocock had been making.
In fact, almost you can hear him, the marionette behind.
That's
you can hear the footsteps.
The classic typewriter.
You can see the strings, can't you?
Absolutely.
But, so I think where we're going to end up with Pocock is the single interest test around multiple employee enterprise agreements is in strife. Yeah. And I'm not sure where that's going to land, whether that's going to happen before or after Christmas. I think the rest of it's going to go through. Maybe with a small employee lift up to about 50. Yeah,
I mean, they keep talking about extending the sitting days for the Senate, Andrew. I think Albo and the Labor government are pretty serious about that. So will they carve out the multi-employer bargaining? My sense of it is yes.
I think they're going to have to. And they've got a huge agenda on. All right, let's hit the big news, which is the recovery case. But hard to understand this unless you love workers' compensation. So it was unfair for me to drop this on.
No, that's all right, Andrew.
But in a very simple world, it works like this. A workers' comp insurer receives a claim in respect of an employee. That employee works at a host site. The host site was a cause or part cause of the injury to that employee. So the workers' comp insurer for the employer send a recovery notice for the total cost of claim based on a negligence claim to the host. And the host notifies its public indemnity insurer who meets the bill. It's got a couple of nasty bits. There's no premium time on public liability. So two things happen on public liability. One, claim goes from 5,000 to 200,000 overnight. Not a good thing to happen.
No, not at all.
And secondly, the premiums ratcheted up. And you can't get away from it because the recovery claims keep coming. And around about 10 years ago, there was 2 or 3% of recovery claims. They're now as high as 30% of total claims made where there's a host site. So workers' comp insurers are trying to reach out because they're all running into debt. So then comes this case. Okay, now you have this third-party insurance to cover when you're attacked by a workers' comp insurer. Okay, you have it there. So public liability insurance. Well, Dylan is a case of Dylan Scaffolders who undertook work for Western Scaffolders. Western Scaffolders did a design. Dylan, through the owner Dylan, looked at it and thought, it's directly under power lines. That's a dangerous place to go.
Would have been obvious, you would think.
So he went and told Western, he said, look, it's a very dangerous place to go. You're going to hurt someone if you do this. And they did nothing. And so he continued to build the scaffold, and a young apprentice ends up from another site, gets injured.
Significantly electrocuted,
And it goes through county court, Supreme Court, lands in the Court of Appeal in Victoria, and the Court of Appeal look at this publicly liability insurance for Dylan. And they go, well, the claims come from Western and said, you've got to pay this. Public liability insurers filed claims saying, no, we don't have to indemnify because we say you've got to exercise reasonable care to comply with the safety regulator.
It's
important to know that Dylan has been prosecuted.
Yes.
Okay, for
Successfully.
breaches.
Yeah.
And the High Court most recently said, without going on to hear it, we think the Victorian Supreme Court is right.
Yep.
We think that a host does have an obligation not to absolutely comply with safety, but to make reasonable efforts to comply.
Mm-hmm.
Here, Dylan knew of the problem, told somebody, but didn't take the next step of preventing someone from being injured.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sounds painless, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
but it's not painless, mate. Because what this does, it puts every single person who is a host at risk of the public liability insurer walking away if you don't comply at a high level to safety. And yet this is exactly what the insurance is for. Yeah,
and we talk about this a lot, Andrew, which is this, trend that we see of people trying to sort of carve off their safety obligations to other people on the
and we're going to talk about that a lot more when we talk about labour hire and the major issue. But I just want you to know, don't feel safe now because you've got public liability insurance. It was never safe before because the true cost of it was much higher than workers' compensation because of the money you'd have to pay before you actually got to your insurance. And then the lack of a premium management system that exists in all states but the 2 free states that don't have government-run insurance. So it was always bad, but it's now super bad because you're going to pay the whole lot of it. So that's why it's a big decision. And Matt and I are going to dig down a lot deeper later on to look at what happens with labour hire contracts and why that's hard. And it's not fair to Matt. I'll do a lot of that.
No, that's all right.
But this one is fair to Matt. So we're going to move on to another workers' comp case because Kim has run away and refused to do this.
Oh, no.
I talked to the koala and the koala just said, "Where's Kim?"
Yeah.
But let's look at McNamara in the state of New South Wales. Very simple, short case, Matt.
It is, and sort of facts that make you just go, why? But look, a sort of admin assistant at a sort of medical practice on 2 occasions accesses the medical records of the business. On the first occasion, is condoned directly by her direct manager, actually standing there watching her access the system. And the second time, in relation to a pretty serious sort of safety concern in respect of her own safety, as well as having to look up to try to find a call that was missed as to who the person was. In the context of this, she makes all these requests for flexible working arrangements, a standing desk, clear complaints and inquiries, and her higher level supervisor effectively does not like this poor woman.
It is a red flag.
It's a red flag
because you can see this woman's done nothing too wrong.
No.
Yeah, she's the second time she's done something which is probably a little bit naughty, but for the best interest of the business, and she should have been cancelled. Yeah,
and it's accepted that behaviour was a breach of the confidentiality.
And then the top supervisor cuts her off all access so she can't do a job properly.
Her access to the system, but then gives her no direction about reasonable alternative duties or any sort of other direction at all. Just expects her to be able to do
She puts in a workers' comp claim.
Puts in the workers' comp claim, and unsurprisingly, it's upheld.
And the company say, reasonable management action. They said, look, she might have done something bad, but actually nothing. You didn't choose a fair approach and you didn't do it fairly. And therefore, reasonable management action failed and a claim got up. So really interesting case, 12 months of premium.
And I think, look, interesting one too, the manager in this one, the direct manager, not the supervisor who did the unreasonable stuff, actually was a witness in favour of the employee because it's just a demonstration of red flag employee, real obviously breakdown in the culture in this place. Results in this sort of claim.
So 12 months back pay. Can you imagine the premium hit? All medical expenses, which means each medical paid throws the premium back up again. Not a good case.
No.
Okay. Now look.
You're talking about not good cases.
Not good cases. Actually, one after this is even worse. But I guess what I want this case is about one thing, which is don't try and be cute. Matt, this is a case, and it's a really simple case called Jenny Woods and Amigos. This is where I think the easiest way to say is they wanted to get a person out of the business. They hired EmploySure to actually set up a process. EmploySure put on their conspiracy mask and said, we do this sneaky thing like this should go. She didn't. Then they made some allegations against her. EmploySure once again got involved to try and do a performance management get out. Didn't work again. So then they made up allegations of assault.
Serious child assault.
And they reported her to the police.
It's just crazy.
Can I read what Commissioner Cambridge said about this case? Because I just want to say, denounced the chief executive and the centre's director's unconscionable, unscrupulous conduct associated with an erroneous claim of serious child abuse. can I just say, never try and be too cute.
Yeah.
Because this case, the only reason Matt and I have chosen it is we're commonly asked to do what Employee Sure did here. And all we say is, look, there's a process.
Yeah.
Stick with the process. Good things come from good process.
Yeah.
The person may put up their hand and say, I don't want to stay here. But don't start pushing people towards it.
Yeah.
The moment you do that, this isn't a workers' comp case, this is a dismissal case.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden here, you've got adverse action, dismissal, workers' compensation, safety, all of them sitting here because someone tried to be too cute.
Yeah.
Just don't.
No, that's right. And look, and it's a great case example about don't retaliate too. I mean, you know, she made the complaints about the CEO, 7 formal grievances under the process. One was substantiated.
Even by Employee Sure.
That's the part. And they decide we're going to do nothing. We're going to try to force this woman out. Sign it, make her sign it without prejudice, discussion note. It's just the litany.
I want you to read it. I think Matt and I both want you to read it because we want you to laugh back. We want you to send in laughs.
Yeah. Well, and cry for this poor woman, honestly.
Well, now let's move on to crying.
Yeah. Well,
EE and the Australian Association of Social Workers. What an amazing case this is.
It is just fascinating, Andrew.
The only issue, I'll get you to move on the next banner if I can, Sally. The only issue about this next case is this. This was an association of social workers at which this person was employed and actually entered comments on Facebook, which was a Facebook-sponsored site by the organisation.
Yeah, operated by the...
And complained about adverse and nasty comments that were on it. Now, I won't be naming the commissioners today. I won't mention DP.
No.
But what I can say is he's finding that this wasn't part of work without relying on any of the case law. And all the case law says it is work.
Yeah.
It is definitely work.
Absolutely.
It was an appalling decision.
Yeah.
And what I want you to know is there's going to be people who rely on this decision.
Yes.
Don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have any sort of social media, whether it's Slack on your site, whether you have Facebook, it's work. The moment it's got that identification, it's work, and therefore the conduct that occurs in or outside of hours is work related. So interesting case. Don't follow it, but really good lessons.
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew.
Matt, third party public liability insurance. We're on to the major thing.
The major thing.
Yeah. And I better do this, hadn't I?
Oh, I suppose. Yeah. Oh, I'll add my comments.
Good idea. So we talked about what was that case before?
Dylan.
That's right. We're talking about Dylan. I think Matt might be talking about it. We talked about Dylan earlier. So let me tell you what happens when you hire a labour hire. You send in your offer from the labour hire, and what the labour hire will do is seek a series of indemnities. In 3 states of Australia, those indemnities, as they relate to safety, are illegal. So not only illegal. That's a good word. I like it. They're also unlawful, and you can be fined. Okay, so be wary of those ones. But they do seek indemnity around workers' compensation. So let's just map this out. You've got labour hire providing labour to a host. Labour hire employee gets injured at host.
And you're the host.
You're the host. You're the host, okay? Except for our guys who work for a labour hire. You're the labour hire.
Yeah, the labour hire.
You get the workers' comp claim here in labour hire land, and you go, well, they're actually another site and they got hurt. It's likely the other site hurt them. Then you've got the basis of negligence. God, what's happened to my language today? For which your workers' comp insurer can seek recovery against the host. The host will then go up to their public liability insurer, and as we've said with Dylan, the public liability insurer may say no. And that all sounds pretty normal except for one thing, and that is the indemnity policy that you seek by changing your indemnity provisions in that contract. You've actually got to have insurance which permits you to seek that indemnity on both sides. And the host will not allow it. There is a policy that does give that total indemnity. So where the host goes back and says to labour hire, you indemnify me fully. It's worth about $1 million premium for an average size business. Very, very hard to get. And the policy now, there's only one left that you can get that works in Australia and is almost impossible to get. But both sides have these exchanging indemnities, trying to get out of liability. Can I just tell you, it's rubbish. We've now litigated several of these. They are unquestionably difficult to prove one way or the other. And the issue is no matter what happens, you're enjoined in a litigation battle about the words of the policy and the liability process.
Oh, not a battle you want to
So
get into.
you're $400,000 or $500,000 in before you've cleared up what the words mean. The best way of doing this as a labour hire provider and as a host is to own your responsibilities. So if the labour hire person to come in and go, okay, we'll manage the introduction, safety, and the admission into site, we'll be clear about that, and we'll provide continuing support. The host says, look, we recognise that we have responsibility in Victoria, we've got Section 23 responsibility in any event. We recognise, and that's the same throughout Australia with a different number, we recognise we've got this liability, so we will accept that responsibility. And most importantly, we will not create areas of risk for labour hire. We will treat them like our employees.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't sound like much, but when you look in some of the industries like agriculture, the meat industry, those industries, whole sections of the provision of service is done by labour hire.
Yeah.
Almost no employee.
No, not at all, Andrew. Yeah.
And they are treated at arm's length, almost like contractors.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Matt, I think that's why Matt and I really wanted to chat about it.
Yeah.
One, this case means you must do what I just said. You
Yeah.
must treat them like your own. You must have a strong safety system. You must manage them. If you don't, forget about this case, forget about insurance, you're going to be thrown into this well of litigation where you'll have no clarity and certainty. And good legal advice is about creating certainty.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think, Andrew, as well, is that, this trend that we're seeing of this enforcement of this expectation that you've got to have that responsibility for people on your side, making sure that you take that individual responsibility and not trying to outsource it to someone else actually means you can also protect people as well.
And,
There's a base safety.
and productivity.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
So the irony of all this is, if I have labour hire that come in, I build their skill. Perhaps in the labour hire agreement, I have a conversion clause, and good labour hire does, which means Matt comes in as labour hire. I agree to pay a premium 15% of his total year-on wage if I convert him to one of my employees. Actually, pretty good when you look at the provisions of the Fair Work Act. It's a good way of testing the cattle before they come to eat your grass. That's not a bad idea. So good clauses have that. So why wouldn't I bring in the best labour hire I can get, have conversion clauses? It is a way that I can tunnel this skill and talent into my organisation, treat them really well so I build their talent skill. They're not going anywhere else.
Yeah. That's right, Andrew. It's you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? You can't get the positive benefits that you just described there without taking some responsibility for the safety of those people. And as soon as you want one without the other, that's where you end up in a situation where those people are hurt and don't want to stay, and you end up in litigation.
And as Nina, if Nina was here, would tell you, the litigation that's coming from regulators about the protection of labour hire is prolific at the moment because the contracting method of engaging employees or labour has changed so dramatically over the last 10 years. It is now a focus of the regulators to protect labour hire. So it's now a high-risk area. Yeah, we're on time. It's going well. Let's go over the problem. This will blow us out because this is a lot of pages.
This is a lot of pages, and they're very tall, Sally tells me, so we might be hitting behind the wall.
Let's see what we're doing.
Oh, that was not too bad. Yeah,
let's see if I can come over it. Off you go, man. I thought it'd be up like this, so you could just
I thought so too, but I think that's the next couple of slides, so we will get to do it. Dwayne was the operations manager of Magic Moulders, a plastic extrusion and moulding business for the food industry. Kate was a plant operator. She had raised issues with the owner about the way women were treated in the business. Nothing direct, but constant commentary mocking women and sexualising them, but never directed at her. When the owner undertook a climate survey, there was a very strong response from women in the business, raising the same issue and saying they didn't feel safe or comfortable with the culture. The owner spoke to Dwayne, explaining it needed to stop. Dwayne blamed Kate for stirring up trouble. He started to manage her more closely, was critical of any delays in production, even when outside her control, and made a pointed dig on Slack, the online method of production communication, saying, if anyone has any problems, you can always use Kate to raise them and discuss them across the plant. When Kate made a complaint to him, he laughed and said, after all, you are on the Continuous Improvement Committee.
Still not high.
No, it's not. Might have just be adjusted the camera, actually.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. No. The following week, a labour hire employee, Vince, was injured on Kate's plant as he tried to lift packets of extrusion parts to a pallet rather than use the appropriate lifting
I
device.
knew Matt was doing this. Sorry.
He suffered a herniated disc and because of the wear and tear on his spine was unlikely to return to work. Dwayne called Kate into a room 2 days later, handed her an allegations letter suggesting she was in charge of plant and should have made Vince use the correct device. Hence, her actions caused an imminent risk to the health and safety of a labour hire employee. She explained she was on her break at the time, he was unsupervised, an issue she had raised several times, including her suggestion to automate the line to avoid manual handling. He found the allegations against her. There we go. Wow.
Well done, Matt.
Excellent.
Okay.
Extrusions.
Extrusion.
Good one, Andrew.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Good one. Yeah. And moulding. Another good one.
I've got more.
No.
Okay, if he dismissed her, that's Dwayne. Would she have a good unfair dismissal claim, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the three elements here, harsh, unjust, or unreasonable, was it harsh? Absolutely. Someone who's made complaints, who wasn't in control of the plant at the time, had sought to make all these changes and then is terminated for that. Harsh. You know, was it unjust? Again, for the same basic
And the truth is, when you look at unjust, you go to the lawful basis determination.
Yeah.
There's no lawful basis.
No, what is the valid reason?
Yeah, so I think it's sort of valid or unjust. They're almost on par here.
Yeah.
But unreasonable. Wow, how unreasonable can you be?
Oh my goodness, yeah. And look, oftentimes people hear safety and they assume, yes, absolutely valid reason, but you've got to think back to how is this person's role and part to play in.
Which throws into the second question, is general protections. And boy, has she raised the complaints, she's raised the issues.
Goodness, yeah.
She's raised the issues of the misconduct, she's raised issues of safety on the line, and he goes ahead and terminates.
Yeah,
on
that's
on some of the very issues she's raised.
Yeah, and he found her annoying on his own subjective evidence, and effectively he's reading between the lines that he created the allegations to terminate her.
I think there's little doubt of that. Could Kate have brought a successful workers' compensation claim? Well, that's a lay down was there.
Yeah.
That's a short answer.
Yeah.
So remember the two tests, reasonable management action here. So she'd say, it happened at work. Yes, it did.
Yep.
I've got a mental health problem.
Yep.
She'd definitely argue it, and as long as it's true, you can get it up and running. Next thing is only defence is reasonable management action. Was it fair for him to take the actions he did? No. Did he do it in a fair way? No.
Yeah. The double whammy.
Yeah. So off to premium we go.
Yeah.
Matt, could the labour hire company insurer bring a successful recovery action against Magic Muscle, and what would the public liability insurer do?
Well, I think, yes, the workers' comp could absolutely, insurer could absolutely bring the recovery action.
Vince's employer.
Yep, that's right. Yep. So the person injured on the plant, could absolutely, given that they're a labour hire employee, their employer's workers' comp insurer could bring the claim.
What do you think the public liability insurer?
Well, I think they would reject it. I mean, did the host employer here, Magic Moulding, did they take all reasonably practical options here?
Here they knew. So let's use reasonably practical.
Yep.
They knew what the hazard was because they'd been told what the hazard was.
They
knew the level of risk. Kate had elevated that and said you really need to use a control like automate, or at least there should have been supervision.
Yep.
Wasn't there. So it wasn't safe planned, it wasn't done reasonably practical, and there was no safe system around managing her breaks.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you, I think the public liability insurance,
and not an example where, as opposed to Dylan, where they get almost close and they'd say, oh, okay, there's something else you could have done, but this was almost perfect. Here, what they did was a failure.
And look, the interesting part of this is that, and I guess we should sort of focus on this for a second. So what happens when you go to court for this? It's not pleasant at all. No. What happens to go to court is you are the named party, so Magic Muscle is the named party. They come along and there are two people sitting opposite them. One is the workers' comp insurer for Vince, or Vince's company, and the second one is your own insurer.
Yeah, that's right.
So your liability for costs, because you're suing for indemnity at one level, and you're suing to say you're not negligent at the other level, or you're defending a claim, your costs are double.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the whole time you're trying to prove your case, the insurer is trying to prove you're wrong because they need to prove you're more negligent. To deny liability. Yeah. So can you see how awful that is?
Oh, and no litigation is ever easy, but this particular litigation is
because you've got two parties trying to prove you and one of them is your friend.
That's right. Well, you thought.
All right. So the next question is, if respective work changes are in, would the commentary Kate complained about be unlawful? Now remember, none of this was directed at her.
No.
But it was about women.
That's right. Well, it's the hostile work environment, isn't it? So that you've got to remember that's comments of a sexual nature or about characteristics of sex made in the presence of people, not necessarily directly to, that could cause harm and offence. So here we've got several women, not even just one, but several women in the climate survey saying we feel uncomfortable because of these comments. I mean, you talk about a lay down misère, it'd be the test case of the century.
I know. And not only that, Dwayne's been told to stop it and doesn't. So
Yes.
you've got this other problem. But the important part of that is a respect to work, which is probably going to go through before Christmas in the Senate. So Royal Assent early in the new year, not here yet. But it is also a hazard.
Yes.
So that hazard kicks back into safety laws. So once you've got an identified wrong, it's a recognised hazard, which elevates its level of risk, and the failure to introduce a control means you go back to the reasonably practical. You've got a real safety problem, which means the public liability insurer would be agitating that issue as well.
Yes, absolutely, which might flow well into the next question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
How on that?
Yeah. Almost like
and I wrote this. Did Magic Moulders and Dwayne breach the safety legislation? If so, how? Well, we've talked about how once they've done it, which is with the hostile work environment. What other ones, man?
Well, the others obviously are, we know here that there are examples given by Kate of the way to improve the way that the work is performed, about the automation. Obviously, there's also another level here about the psychological risk to herself and to the other employees.
And there's Dwayne.
And then, well, that's right. I mean, he was her.
He's one of the hazards.
Yeah.
He's one of the people doing this.
Yes, that's right. He's the labour hire employee. He's taken these steps.
That's Vince.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
yes,
look,
sorry.
I tell you,
Vince
it's complex. I warned you.
No, you did.
No, Dwayne
did,
was the one who was backing up the hostile working environment.
Yes, sorry.
So there you go.
Yeah.
All those things tell you really good, strong breaches of safety.
Yeah.
Which means public liability denies.
Yep.
Liability in the Fair Work.
Yep.
Gee, it's not nice, is it?
No,
Every
it's 3 or
single
4
jurisdiction you go to, you lose on this set of facts.
Yep.
So, guys, next week I've got to tell you.
One more.
I've got one more.
Andrew. Yeah, one more question.
Could Kate have applied successfully to stop bullying order? Yes. Yeah, there was repeated conduct.
Yep, it was unreasonable.
Hurt, humiliated, intimidated, created a risk, health and safety, 3 tests. Yes, they could have.
Yep.
So, look, that's it. Now, can we go to next week? Now?
We can, Andrew. Sorry, still watching.
That wasn't high enough.
You're well-crafted question.
Look,
that's
it. Next week, we should know what's happening in the Senate, shouldn't we?
I think so. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, it's only a week or two sitting left. We'll see what happens. Yeah. The Pocock factor should be out.
Yeah, we might print him out and put him in front of the choir.
So I think we put Pocock here.
We could.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Pocock will visit.
There we go.
Yeah, he'll be our silent inquirer.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Everyone.